Everybody, welcome to We Have Something to Say. We're gonna jump right into it because I know that everybody, people that's watching, it was a consequential week, and uh, so uh,
I was about to say, did you had a loss for words? Is it that bad?
no. I'm actually trying to get that echo out of my whatcom. When I go live on Instagram, I gotta shut it down or I get feedback on this side. So every time I talk, it talks. Uh, we'll jump right into it. The loss of the election. I think um, after pondering for a while, I've had a lot of thoughts on it. But I really am at this point in my life was I think you got to have hard conversations and where we are, what we're trying to accomplish. I am very, very honest in my assessment that we as a community have to make some hard decisions. I think a message was sent, a very, very clear message. The question, as I asked my friends, is did we receive it? And I think it's really been amazing to watch pundits on TV get on TV, and I've only seen two really who just said it for what it was. That was Claire McClaskell and Rick Wilson from the Lincoln Project, who I love to death. Rick Wilson pretty much can ask me to do anything. I think he's a decent human being. We probably don't agree on everything, but Rick Wilson just said it point blank. He said, look, when he was explaining it and he was really upset, and he said, I'm really upset because out of all the people I should have saw it. He's like, the bottom line is white rural voters in Georgia, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin just were not ready to vote for a woman of color. That's just the truth of the matter. It's you don't have to do a whole bunch of other shit. And I just rather have somebody give me the truth about where we are as a group of people who only number 42 million and who only have 34 million registered voters, of which we can't even get 65% to come out and vote on a regular basis. That's just the fucking truth. You cannot win national elections with only 42 million people, 34 million registered voters, and you can't get an average of 50% of them to come and vote.
But see, look, okay. I'm tired of this motherfucking narrative of black people complaining about shit but don't want to participate in the process.
Right.
The problem is this. We got 34 million black registered voters in the country.
Right.
And maybe let's say 20 million vote.
On a regular basis.
On a regular basis.
Right.
We should be voting at least 32 million.
At least
32 million of us should be voting. I don't give a shit. I'm tired of all this fucking back and forth bullshit about it ain't black people's fault. You motherfuckers don't vote.
Right.
They don't vote.
Don't vote.
And I don't understand. I really and truly, let me turn my mic down because I'm thinking too loud. I'm sorry.
You're on fire. I'm gonna let you talk this morning. Let me sit back and enjoy the show.
I'm saying we should at least have 32 million black people voting. Every election. Because we get affected more than anybody. But for some damn reason, you got some ignorant ass people who just won't. And I had members of my family talking about they weren't going to vote. That's the most ignorant shit you can say when you're black, that I'm not going to vote. When evidence proves when we vote, we change things.
Good morning.
I'm only getting that Facebook user.
Yeah. I don't know what that is. I don't know why I'm getting Facebook. Yeah. Facebook user, who are you? Because your name.
Okay, I just want to make sure it wasn't just me.
No.
I mean, seriously.
So we need.
Seriously,
go ahead.
I'm not. The narrative that Latinos, Latino men.
Go ahead.
The Latino men did not vote for Kamala Harris. They voted for Trump and all that. I don't give a shit. I really don't care. I'm talking about us. This show that we do, the conversations that we have are geared toward African Americans. Am I right?
Yeah, we do. We don't.
That's our main focus.
That's our main audience, no doubt.
That's our main audience. Even if it wasn't our main audience, you
doubt.
and I are African Americans. So anything that we talk about it from a point of view of things that affect us and our community. That's not to slight anybody else or anything like that. That's not what I'm talking about.
Hey, answer that question real quick. I just want to see what your answer is.
Why they don't vote?
Right.
Because there's two things. Historical reasons. One, we've been told, well, part of it is we've been told that our vote doesn't count. Because you'll never believe how many people tell me, well, voting for the president don't matter because the Electoral College elects the president. And then I have to break down what exactly is the Electoral College, because most people don't know. You remember that old, and I think I said this before, that old In Living Color skit where the guy that was in prison and he read a few things and he said the circumcision of this, is precise and all this. And he was saying a whole bunch of words that were irrelevant, just saying a whole bunch of nonsense.
Who, Damon
Wayans? He sounded,
right.
Damon Wayans. But he sounded, the way he came across was he knows a lot of shit.
Right.
The problem is we have too many people like that in our community. And we give people like that more credibility than people who actually study this stuff. Like I said, man, when I break down what exactly is Electoral College, how simple it is, and in order to get Electoral College votes, you have to actually win the popular vote. People are like, oh, that's what that is? Yeah.
Okay.
And the thing is, it's a simple thing that people don't know about, but they give it so much weight.
Kenneth, let me do this right quick. Listen, y'all, for some reason, Facebook is not posting you all's name. So when you ask the question, can you just put your name first? I know that's a little irritating, but I don't have any control of that. It's just coming up Facebook users. We didn't know who we're addressing. Normally your name comes up, we know who we're addressing. Can I answer that question right there?
Go for it.
Okay, yeah. Okay, look. Please don't be offended. Obama was a fucking outlier. We need to go ahead and say that. It was an outlier. It was a set of circumstances in the right time, in the right place. And ever since then, you've never seen that again. It was, man, a black person got to be the first nominee, so everybody was excited. Everybody. Hey, Ms. Lady, everybody. So, but it was an outlier. Now, you go back on the next 3 elections, and it went back down. I've been saying this since 2012. Kenny has heard me say this before. I keep saying the name that y'all should go and learn. Senator Kay Hagan. You need to go and read up on her campaign in 2012. Senator Kay Hagan out of North Carolina was running for re-election. And her whole campaign focus, and all of it, at the time, it was the most expensive Senate campaign in history, because that's how Tom Tillis is in office right now. And Kay Hagan's whole campaign focus was to hit every hamlet in North Carolina where there was a black person. Their whole goal was to touch every black person in the state, because if they said they can get to 32% of the registered black voters in North Carolina, if they could get to 32%, they win hands down. And that's all they did, was they focused on it. You can go back and look up. They got case studies of it. They got to 27%, and she lost after they had spent most of their budgets on trying to get black people to vote. So let me tell you what that tells white candidates. And let me tell you what this last election tells white candidates. To me, this is what it says. I can spend all the money I can, but I can't guarantee that y'all gonna get over a certain threshold. So why should I do it? Why should I do it? If John King on CNN on election night was saying she's about to lose North Carolina, this is what he said, because rural African American voters in North Carolina, numbers are down up until this point. The numbers are down. North Carolina should have been a
slam dunk.
Slam dunk. But
yeah,
John
because
King,
how many points did old boy lose by?
He lost by double-digit points.
Right.
Mark Robinson.
So you mean to tell me that black Nazi lost by over 20 points and Donald Trump won North Carolina, the same state, the same rhetoric. Listen to what I'm saying. They were saying the exact same thing. The only thing that Trump didn't say was that he was a Nazi. But he proved it.
Right.
And he never actually said I'm a Nazi, but he proved he was. Right. And you mean to tell me that there's that much of a double-digit difference in the vote from Robinson to Trump when they said the exact same thing? The only difference is Robinson was black.
Right. So
that's the only difference. They said the exact same thing, both out of shape, ugly motherfuckers. And y'all in North Carolina, he lost by double digits and Trump won. That doesn't make any sense to me.
What it
that makes no sense. The exact same rhetoric.
Right.
It didn't change.
Right.
You could have put one of them in each one of his campaign, a campaign rally, and hid them behind the damn screen and not know who they were, and you would have thought they were the same person.
Y'all were the same candidate.
It's the exact same candidate. So that makes no sense to me.
Right.
None whatsoever. Why I don't? Well, like I said, we have been historically told that our vote doesn't count. Electoral college votes, they elect people and all that. We already debunked that. Also, historically, some black people are scared to vote. They're scared. I mean, it's an old. You remember going back to not our parents' generation, but our grandparents' generation.
Right.
They were the first ones they were adults when the
Voting Rights
Act came in.
And before that, it was
well, let's say this. They were the last generation that did not have the right to vote in a majority of their life. Let's say they were older about it. Because our parents' generation in the 60s, they were already of age. They were in their early late teens, early 20s, and all that stuff. So our grandparents' generation was the first generation that did not gain the right to vote on a collective level without a lot of violence acted toward them. They were the last generation to deal with that.
The word they used in the act was unfettered.
Okay.
Unfettered. Everything you're talking about, you weren't going to do no poll taxes, no threats of violence.
Our grandparents' generation was the last one to have to deal with that.
Exactly. No
majority of their life. So the point I'm trying to make is this: that old philosophy of I'm scared to vote, or my vote doesn't count, or nothing will change. That comes from that mentality, that old mentality. Because I was talking to someone who's from Mississippi, and I can't remember who it is, who the person is. I can't remember who it was. And I said, I brought that up. I was like, why black people in Mississippi don't vote? As many black people they have in Mississippi, I don't understand. They can change that entire state legislature all the way from top to bottom, the state government from top to bottom, if they just voted. And I was like, why don't they vote? It doesn't make sense to me. I couldn't figure it out. And she was like, a lot of them are scared. And then, because they're scared they're going to lose their job. I'm like, are you serious? That mentality still exists in Mississippi? She was like, yeah. And then on top of that, they don't think their vote count. I just don't understand the thought process behind all of it. Because they want to say, well, things ain't going to change. Well, nothing will keep changing. Nothing will change if you keep allowing the same people to get elected. We always have, our people, black people, have always had the most to lose when we had certain people in office. I mean, if nothing else, and I've been saying this for years, even before I really truly started getting deep into studying politics, government, how our government works. Whenever there's a Republican administration, from Ronald Reagan on down, we do bad. The economy takes a downturn, black people take a hit. Every single time. When the Democrat comes in, things start going, swinging back up toward working in our favor. That we get more on an uptick in things that look good for us. Every time a Democrat's in office, it happens every single time since Reagan. Now I don't know what happened before that because I really hadn't studied that too much. I'm talking about since the 80s when you and I came of age, when Ronald Reagan was president. You see the trend. It hasn't changed. Has not changed. Every single time Republicans in office, Black people catch hell. Every time a Democrat's in office, things look better.
And here's
my thing is, why won't you vote?
Yeah,
that doesn't make sense to me.
I was told, and this is what I told somebody. I've been told, and the messaging is not correct. And every time I ask somebody, what more could we say? I don't mean when you say the message is not correct. Is it the tone? Is it also the religious Blacks voted for Trump because of abortion? You know what? I'm starting to feel like I'm gonna answer that question. I'm gonna answer that, Annie. I'm gonna answer that in a second. When I just read somebody said they lost working class African Americans.
How?
I mean,
what exactly do they need to do?
The message was wrong. What more?
What exactly do they want?
But here's the thing.
That's the point I'm trying to make, man. You can't. There's people out there who low information talking about well, they didn't speak to us Black men. They didn't speak to Black men's us. They're just talking to women. Okay, when she came out with initiatives for Black men, she came out with something, and people, she just came out with that because of. You mean to tell me, off the top of her head, which would be quite impressive, in 2 days she came up with a whole strategy, policy strategy that she wanted to implement in reference to Black men.
And wait,
and that still didn't satisfy you?
Add this part. At extreme risk of alienating other people.
Right.
When you do realize that when you say I'm going to come out with a policy position specifically for a subgroup of people, that you are now alienating another subgroup of people whose votes you need, and y'all still didn't come out. Yeah, wait. She was damned if she did, damned if she didn't. So we need to start talking about the issues that are affecting the community. Messaging. I gotta beg you to protect your interests in the hotel. Exactly. I gotta beg you. I told my wife, I said, I don't have the patience if we're in a burning house and you and I are in the burning house together. And I'm saying the house is on fire while I'm trying to throw water on the house, grab a bucket, and you asking me, well, I don't know if that house, it was the right color. Motherfucker's burning down. Yeah, well, I just need you to get some water. Well, what room I'm gonna get in next? Motherfucker's burning down. We both live in it. Let's put the fire out first. I don't know what else y'all wanted her to do. I know we better have some honest conversations. I know.
My patience as I've gotten older. I told some fellas last night. I said my patience for BS is getting to the level of 0 at this point in my life. Level of 0, because my thinking is the information is out for you. We have access to more. Like right before we came on the air, I just went in and Googled something. How many African Americans are there in the United States? Popped up 50.1 million as of 2022. 50.1 million. How many registered voters are there in the how many African American registered voters? 34 million. That's just that simple. Now, if you can't do that and learn about what's really going on, then something is wrong with your ass. And it opens up, and because of the algorithm, if you actually start doing research, more stuff will come toward you. The algorithms will literally send you material along those same lines. If you don't believe me, go to Amazon and put a product in. If you have an Amazon app on your phone, go to Amazon and put a product in. Or just put a product in about you want to buy, and this is something I read too. Steve Madden shoes. You want to buy Steve Madden shoes. Just put in Steve Madden shoes. Scroll through for a couple of minutes, then go back to Facebook. You will start seeing ads with Steve Madden shoes in there. Just that quick. Now, you mean to tell me that you can't spend a few minutes of your life to go look at something to find out information? You sorry bastards would go there and watch every damn Real Housewives of Atlanta episode from 10 years ago and look at that damn ignorance.
Wait.
You will sit there and worry about the beef between Kendrick Lamar and Drake.
There you go.
You will sit there and research every damn thing about Diddy and the shit that he's accused of. You will sit there and can tell me every stat that that LeBron James, who's look at stats to find out stats between who's better between LeBron James and Michael Jordan, who's the GOAT. But you can't do something that really affects your damn life. Who gives a shit if damn Jordan or LeBron is a damn GOAT? But your ass can't look up nothing that's gonna help you in your life. Being a stat master is not helping you. You still in a damn low wage job. You still ain't got nothing.
Let me say this one time, Kenneth.
And you happy in your ignorance.
Kenneth,
so I'm tired of. All right, listen, hold on. Let me.
No, I just want to address this one more time. Look, y'all, for some reason, Facebook is not punching your name up like it normally does. So when you get a comment, just tell me who's commenting so we can address you. I don't know why it's not putting your name up. I'm gonna have to discover that afterwards. For some reason, your name's not popping up. You're just saying
it is on the phone. It's just not doing it on here.
Oh, it's on the phone. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
I'm looking at because the last two comments was from Mike.
Oh, what's up, Mike? Okay, so I'll just.
It is coming. I don't know why it's not doing it on.
Yeah, I don't know why it's not. Okay, cool. I'm glad you told me that. Let me adjust. Go for it.
I'm saying this. Y'all, you're going to be on your own.
No, not on. Going to be. What you mean they going to be on their own? We on our own.
No. I'm talking about those people who ain't got, that complain because they ain't got, and ain't doing nothing to help themselves get. They're gonna be on their own because we have to now circle the wagons around those of us who are trying to do the right thing. If you don't want to participate in the process, a simple thing like going into a booth and voting. That's a simple thing that requires. I mean, if you gotta wait in line, we for a couple of hours, that may require that. But if you don't, do early voting.
Look,
I early voted in Augusta, and it took me 10 minutes.
Can we end this segment on this? This is what we're saying. Tell me if you disagree. We aren't saying that every time. We're saying that no matter what happens, African Americans have to be somewhere between probably 75 to 90% of registered voters in order to change the tide.
No, not registered voters. Voting.
Well, yeah.
We got not just registered, because we are. We got 34 million registered.
Yeah, we have
32 million voting.
We don't. Okay, let's just say this. The bottom line is, whatever we do, we have to be somewhere between 6. Probably. I'm just throwing out numbers. I know it's more than 50.
80.
Because I don't know, and nor do I no longer have the patience. I just acknowledged that last night. I don't know if I have the capacity to drag you along, to pull you and push forward anymore at my age. I don't know why I have to convince you, right? And I give what Mike just said. Why do I have to convince you to look after your own best interest? And the truth of the matter is, if y'all really want to be blunt, man, if it didn't affect me, I wouldn't give a fuck. If my voting only affected me, and your voting right where you voted didn't affect me, I wouldn't be trying to convince people or talking about this. But the truth of the matter is, I'm in the same boat. Whatever you do, it affects, because this was ridiculous. And so let's move on to a couple of things about what we're already seeing, the consequences of what's going on. And it's the funniest shit. So before all these Latino men voted for Donald Trump, It doesn't seem to be that any of them looked up Operation Wetback in 1954. And how? They deported 1.2 million Mexicans in 1954 over this same shit. Many of them were legal. They were third generation Americans. So here's the plan. This is what I've been telling people who want to talk to me about this. I said, you do know that Stephen Miller, excuse me, let me introduce you to Stephen Miller, who hates Hispanics. You do know that they're going to round up legal people in this purge that's coming up.
Oh,
and they're going to put you out the country, and they're going to make you prove that you're an American. They just did it. Remember the Muslim ban? They forgot that there were many Muslims. Remember this, Kenneth? They had left the country to go visit family in the Middle East, and then couldn't get back in the country.
Couldn't get back in the country.
And they were American citizens because the people that they put down at the bottom were giving them all kinds of bullshit. Don't y'all forgot all the people that went to the airport to fight for these people? It was a test. And Stephen Miller announced the other day, Stephen Miller announced on Wednesday, he's turbocharging it. Stephen Miller ain't no big fan of black people, but he don't hate us. He can't stand Hispanics. And so when he's doing this roundup and this stop and frisk, then you don't have to have your driver's license on you or whatever. They're rounding your ass up. And let me add on something else that Donald Trump said the other day in an interview, I think, with Sean Hannity. What are you going to do about the cost, which they're saying is $280 billion? He said, we don't care about the cost.
Dude, somebody else who's one of the supporters said that before the election. He said, we don't care. Okay, but whatever the cost is, it costs.
And so let me address that. Kid, I'm gonna shut up. Let me address this. I don't even want to be this person. I told my sister last night, I'm empathetic, but I don't even want the feeling of empathy anymore when it comes to this, because I'm like Mike when Michael says, "I can't wait for him to go." You have shown my community, and I knew this when I watched the former mayor of San Antonio on Morning Joe the next morning. It hit me. Wait a minute. You didn't say anything about white racism and about your fellow brothers voting for a man coming for you. And it dawned on me, oh, you want to be the most populated minority. You want to displace us because your proximity to power becomes more. I don't give a damn. Hey, man, y'all let the purge begin. We're going to be all right. We're going to go through some hard shit, but we done been here before. Let it happen. If that brings them back down, did you look it up, Ken? I think they're at 60 million. If that brings them back down to 35, man, fuck it. Let it happen. Because you just showed us. You showed your ass with us on Tuesday. You showed your ass on Tuesday. You showed your ass. And I told them, I said, this was a message to black women in particular, that y'all's power is not what y'all necessarily think it is, because they feel like y'all ramrodded this nominee down their throat, and they were gonna try to break your back, and it's just gonna prove the opposite. Let it happen, because if you don't have black women fighting for you to stop you from being deported, you in trouble, because ain't nobody else coming for you. There's nobody else coming for you. Go ahead.
One of the things that I read an article I read this morning about, because I'm probably like most of you. After the election, when I went to bed on Tuesday night, I knew it was over. I knew she had lost. I woke up the next morning. I didn't look at anything on no feed. Only thing I looked at was to see what the vote numbers were, what the numbers were. That's all I looked at.
That's what I did.
I haven't really looked at any of the because I love looking at political shows and all that. Haven't really looked at any of them because it's depressing. And so I didn't look at anything, any data or anything until this morning. And one article I read, this guy, he's Hispanic, and I can't remember his name. I don't even think I looked at his name. But one of the things he said was he was on Roland Martin's show. And he was saying that Roland was like fuck him. Latino men, when they come get your mama, they did everything we could to save y'all and let y'all know what's coming. But y'all rather vote for a racist or not vote at all. Fuck you. That's what ethnic groups within the Latino community. The Cubans don't have the same interest as the Mexicans do, or the Guatemalans do. Puerto Ricans don't have the same interest as the Dominicans don't have the same interest. So if you are, and he said, if you have people who are here, second, third, fourth generation Americans being here for that long, they don't care. They don't have any sympathy for people who are just coming across the border, first generation coming across. They don't have any sympathy for. Well, you first generation born here, but your parents are here illegally. They don't have any sympathy for you. They think like white people when it comes to that. You on your own.
You're on your own. They said it. They said it.
I may be Hispanic, I may be Latino, but that don't affect me. My family ain't going nowhere.
Right.
We've been here.
And Stephen Miller has said, anchor babies, no, you're not staying. You're not staying based on, they are trying to abolish that rule. You're not staying. They are saying, if you got an anchor baby, we're sending you back with your family. We're sending you back. And I predict that it's going to get so insidious. I've read something this morning. This lady was talking about why she voted in Las Vegas. Her husband voted. She was a El Salvadorian immigrant. He was Mexican. Both of them had come in as illegal immigrant and then got nationalized through a George Bush program. I think they're going to be so insidious that they're going to get people to go down the roads and find out if you ever were an illegal. They're going to go down the roads and find out if you ever were an illegal. And they are so insidious that they're going to go back and go, you should have never got citizenship in the first place. That's my prediction. You should have never gotten citizenship. That's what they're going to do. And to say something about what Kenneth said, there's this influencer, I think he's on TikTok, who's Mexican, who said, we begged y'all not to do this. I have illegal immigrants in my house. And I know as a Mexican, I know y'all got illegal immigrants in your house because we all do. We all do. And y'all voted for them anyway. And he said, if they come from my family that's illegal immigrants, I'm calling ICE on all of y'all. That's what he said. I'm calling ICE on all of y'all. He said, because I'm going to give you the same pain that you brought me. And I begged you as a Mexican, don't do this. And you did it anyway. Hey, look. So you have to want this is Trump way of getting rid of Melania.
Nah, you funny as hell.
Yeah, Brian just said denaturalization is on the table.
Yeah.
All of us who know this, all of us who pay attention to this, know that the first 100 days are consequential. Because they know after the first 6 months.
So hold on. Did the Republicans win the Senate? They got 53 votes, right?
The Senate's gone. The Senate's gone.
So guess what? Stephen Miller's going to be the head of Homeland Security. He'll be the Homeland Security Secretary.
The dude that he said was in charge of the Border Patrol, the one that got up there.
Well, I thought they said they were going to do. I read that Stephen Miller might be.
No, Stephen Miller's not going to have. No, he's going to be what he's been doing, which is he's a top advisor to the president, and he's going to be in charge of the deportation. But he's not going to have a cabinet level position. And Brian just said denaturalization is on the table. We have been sent, I'm going to keep saying this. We have been sent a clear message by other minorities. The question is, are we going to get it? And do we have the will to do what's best for our community? Do we have the will? Brian and I have been talking about this all week, just going back. I got phone calls at 5:30 the next morning from people. I was like, damn, who just want to talk. 5:30 the next morning, because I was going to call you. I was like, no, he got to go teach. I'm not going to call him. I was about to call you. I said, he got to go teach.
Well, I was up at 5:30 anyway.
But I figured you had to get ready. I was like, I'm not going to call him. We'll talk this week. We have to make up our minds what we're trying to accomplish, and the will. Go ahead. What you about to say?
For those of you who don't know, I'm at Tuskegee's homecoming right now. It's hold up with my shirt.
No tangents. No tangents. We're not talking.
And we have it's our 100th homecoming. One thing I'm gonna say about that later on before we leave. Also, I got stopped twice yesterday walking across the yard by women who sisters that watched the show, and they basically asked me, "What we gonna do?"
Actually, who is that man you on the show with?
I don't give a damn about you. They come to watch me. But anyway, actually, you know one of them.
I'm messing with you. Keep going. My bad. My bad.
You know Terry Elam, right?
Yeah, I know Terry.
Yeah, guys, she's one that asked me. She said, well, "What we gonna do? Where do we go from here?" And I said, we need to start being petty. Let's be petty. That's it. Let's be petty. We just go. We're going to let's show these people in this country how petty we can be. They want to mess with us. We're showing them how petty we're going to be. And starting out, there's one thing I said to somebody when the first I said, "Wait, y'all go ahead and cancel y'all rooms for inauguration for those of you who were going to go and have rooms reserved and all that. Go ahead and cancel." And I read somebody read on Facebook like a day later. Somebody said, "Don't cancel those rooms. Keep the rooms up until the last minute, so they ain't gonna have nowhere to stay."
Yeah, that's 48 hours.
Yeah, the last 48 hours. Go ahead and keep that room, so there will be because every room in the DC metro area was reserved. Keep those reservations until 48 hours before the inauguration. Then cancel them in mass. 48 hours. I said that's a twofold message to these people, to these racists. No matter what their race, creed, or color is, it's a twofold message. One, don't fuck with black people. We done with y'all. Don't fuck with us. Number two, it's an economic message because those hotels will not be able to fill those rooms that fast. And if they do, the racists are going to have to pay out the ass for those rooms. When I say they will have to pay, the price of those rooms will probably double than what they already were. So if you want to go see that racist Trump and you want to spend the money, instead of paying $200 for a room, you'll be paying $700 for that room. And something I want to talk about that before we leave too, in terms of hotel rooms and stuff like that. But Be petty. Yeah, for the next 4 years, let's be petty.
Yeah, and we got to be petty, and we have to. Brian just commented. This is something we've been talking. One of the things, something he and I have been talking about all week. You have to understand the strategy of battles and war. And we've been saying this on the show for a while. Sometimes you're fighting to hold ground. Sometimes you're fighting to hold the ground that you gained. You're not fighting to move forward because you don't have the resources. You're just fighting to hold ground. So what does that mean? That means that more of us have to get involved in local election. That means, look, man, we say this has come to bite us in the ass. What I'm about to say. I've talked to this about Stephanie. I've talked to this about with Mike. I've talked to this about with Brian. I've talked to about anybody that owns businesses. If you do not make a concerted effort to shop and use Black businesses and services, in spite of all of your goddamn reservations, we will be stuck. We don't have enough news outlets. I was just telling my sister this morning, as much as you love Roland Martin, and I think he did a hell of a job, if Mark Zuckerberg decides that he wants to shut Roland Martin down, he's on YouTube and Google because we haven't supported Black Planet enough that's owned by Kathy Hughes and Alfred Liggins. There's going to be required a concerted effort to going back to segregation. What you laughing at? Segregation type way.
I know them.
Huh?
You know I used to work for them.
Yeah, they're going to have to be. But she's been screaming this at the top of her lungs since the year 2000. She's been doing public service announcements on Radio 1 about, look, there's a consolidation of Black radio stations and media outlets are being brought up. You aren't going to have anybody speak on your behalf. Be honest, what social media platform do we control? Fan base is one. What's the other? We're on Facebook. Fan base is owned by a Black guy. I'll send it to you.
I don't even know what that is.
Exactly. But if Mark Zuckerberg, and look at what Elon Musk did with Twitter. My daughter called me and said, Dad, I'm getting fed GOP stuff left and right on my Twitter page. We just don't. And we need to ask ourselves why. And has this behavior so damaged us that it's going to take past our lifetime to fix? You have to support the people. We don't have enough Black billionaires. We just don't. And Black Star Network, darn, I'm going to download that today. You got, like Stephanie said, you got to be intentional. You have to be intentional. If you gave, one of my friends, we say this all the time, and I know Mike and Stephanie said it. Stephanie and I have had this conversation. If Black people in Atlanta or Chicago just gave 10% of their business, let's say to Stephanie and Derek's law firm, they can't handle the business. Then they will have to hire people to handle the business. But you're so worried about, well, I ain't trying to make them rich. And I'm always going, you're a fool for not trying to make them rich. You need rich, super wealthy Black people to counteract this onslaught of white people, Jewish people, Indian people who have their own, what's the word I'm looking for, Kenny? Their own agenda to push. Mm-hmm. And we got to start saying it. We had to make they only want us for our bodies. I've been saying that for a while. Be petty. I agree with Kenneth. That should be a part of your being petty.
Mm-hmm.
That should be a part of your being petty. Not all of your money, but goddamn, you could do 15% intentionally. It'll make a huge difference. We done had so many people telling us this. Smart dudes. John Hope Bryant keeps saying it on Charlemagne's show every day. That's another thing I want to talk about too. Anyway, go ahead.
I forgot what I looked up something while you were talking. I forgot what I was going to say. I just really and truly, the whole petty thing, just be petty. Spend your money with people who, if you can, people who have our interests at heart. Real people, Black businesses, and hold on, and make sure that Black business isn't a MAGA supporter. Business owner isn't a MAGA supporter. Because I can tell you this, the owner of the restaurant, and I love the food there, but he hosted a Trump event, MAGA event a few months ago, and I can't think of the name of the restaurant, but the food was very good. It was kind of pricey, but it was very good. It's in Jonesboro, Georgia. But when I saw he hosted a Trump event or put his name to a Trump event, you're never going to get my money again. Be intentional about where you spend your money and who you spend it with. Do not spend your money, if you can help it, with somebody who is going to use that money to oppress us.
Right.
Period.
I'm not paying.
That's it. I'm not paying for my own oppression. Yeah, I'm not doing that anymore. If I can help it. If I can help it. If I like sometimes you can't help it.
Man, I love a Publix sub sandwich. Love Publix.
Well, no, don't go.
Everything. Ever since she came out and said what she said, I was like, I can't even stomach going in to buy it. I'm like, I can't get a sandwich because I'm giving you money. And I want to say this, Kenneth, because Brian and I talked about this all week. We have to, our generation, Kenneth, you should be able to speak on this better than I can, but I'm going to say it. For some reason, these young men after us have a taste for strong men that can roll up on you and whoop your ass. And I said this, me and Brian and I talked about this yesterday. I can go down to my playground, which I spend a lot of time with young Black guys, and I guarantee you I can say, man, y'all ever heard of Roland Martin? And almost all of them will say no. But let me ask them if they ever heard of Big Meech. And almost all of them will say yes. And the only thing, and I ain't mad at Big Meech for being able to accomplish this. It is what it is. I tell people I'm not mad at it. It's in Atlanta. Meech was known for rolling up on you for doing the wrong thing with 20 to 30 dudes and whooping your ass. It's the same as Stephanie Larry Hoover. I had one of my guys on the truck from Chicago who was talking about what you were talking about, Stephanie, violence amongst youth in Chicago. And I said, well, what do you think you can do about it? And Stephanie, he literally said, I think they ought to let Larry Hoover out of prison. He'd get all that straight. He didn't say the mayor. He didn't say the city council. He said Larry Hoover, the founder of the Gangster Disciples, could come out and lay down the law to stop all of that. We have abandoned what Brian and I said, Kenneth, you and I, and my generation. We have abdicated what masculinity is in the Black community, and they have watched this. And the reason, and they're valid reasons, we want to make money, we got families, but when we see stuff happening that needs to be nipped in the bud, and it has to happen with force, I hate to say that, like in the parks and drive-by shootings, we haven't banded together to say, that's not the rules of engagement in our neighborhood, it's more of us than you, we're going to stop that or you're going to get your ass whooped. And them young guys don't respect us because of that. They don't. That's why they know Meech. That's why they know Larry Hoover. That's why they know the founder of the Crips and who runs the Crips. That's why I got a young kid in the neighborhood who has a group of Muslims who can walk around, who's treated me very well. They respect him because of the issue of force and this thought of fear of what will happen to him. Fear won on Tuesday. Fear won. Love didn't win on Tuesday. That'd be a damn lie. Fear won. And we need to start having this absolute, but between people our age is, in our lifetime, are we going to take back the narrative of what it means to be masculine? Kenneth, you always tease me about this. You say, Leonard, why you got such a hard problem with that word simp? And I go, because deep down, what they really saying is they don't have no fear of me and people like me and you who did it another way. They just think that they can just roll over us at any given moment, whereas we're going, no, it ain't worth it for me to do all that.
That's when you get that FAAFO.
Right.
Fuck around and find out.
Fear and greed won on Tuesday. So if the language you're gonna have to speak, and this goes to Black pastors too, because the vote was down. And here's the thing. They're saying
2% in Georgia, 2% in North Carolina. I think 4% in Philadelphia.
10% in Philly. No, 10% in Philly. 10%. It represented like 200,000 votes.
And see, my thing about the whole thing is, Black people don't want to take the blame. Well, you can't blame us because 90% of us voted for her. No, that was 90% of the people who 90% of the people who voted. It wasn't 90% of the Black community. If we had 90% of the Black community, I say this: if 90% of the Black community in the United States actually voted, we would never have a Republican holding national office. We wouldn't have it. We wouldn't have a Republican governor in Georgia. Wouldn't have we probably still have the same number of House of Representatives, but we would never have a Republican in the White House if 90% of the Black people voted. Or 90% of the Black people who were registered to vote if they voted. Not 90% of people who voted, 90% of the people who are eligible and registered to vote. If 90% of our community actually voted, we would never have another Republican in the office of the president.
And what but be honest when you say that. If we can see that they don't participate, they can see it too.
Oh yeah.
So we do everything to suppress it. And no, Mike, you can't spit in nobody's face. Yeah, Jesus, please take that wheel. I know how mad you were. I know how mad you were if you saw that walking to a restaurant. I know how bad you were.
The whole thing, it always, and I am going to continue to blame Black people for this. And I'm serious, because I don't care about voting in other communities. 90%, if 90% of the registered voters black voters in this country actually voted, we could change the complexion of this our government.
Hey,
Just
man.
that simple.
Hey man, if Big Meech had told them young guys, look, I told somebody, I ain't gonna, I bet you if Big Meech had come out on stage in Atlanta, a whole bunch of young brothers would have said, bro, they got Big Meech on the stage. Bro, that's Big Meech. Big Meech got out here on the stage endorsing Kamala. If all they understand is fear, I refuse to keep speaking a language they don't understand.
Well, hold on. You know, the thing is, this is the other part of it too. You keep saying if all they see is fear, if they only respect fear. You ever thought about the fact of us that we're telling them what's going to happen, what would happen if Trump became president, and stoke fear in that way, and they just don't care.
We don't. Okay, so look, let me tell you why that doesn't work. I'm seeing this article I read today. Anybody else wants it? A guy wrote an article.
Homecoming. I ain't reading no articles. I know.
Okay,
I read all read this weekend.
Okay, we ain't got but 5 minutes. So let's tell us. You're gonna be able to get it. I'm gonna give you the last 3 minutes to talk about homecoming. The truth of the matter is, right-wing media dominates the airwaves, and this is what the guy was saying today. He was saying that billionaires who have a right-wing tilt since 1994 have been investing into right-wing media so that they can control the information. And think about it. What do we have? MSNBC. That's all we got. Because even CNN for a while before they fired the white dude last July was leaning towards. That's why they fired Don Lemon and all them, was going towards right-wing media. You can't, if you aren't going to support financially, they can't survive. And at some point, you're going to have to make the decision in our community. How do we get to these young men, and how important is it to us?
The thing is, like I said, I'm to the point where I'm trying to stop preaching to these dudes who don't want to listen. Now, I'll say this. I will preach to my students. And we need to, in order to change this narrative around voting, we really and truly have to start with the young people who are still at an age where they will listen. And I'm talking elementary school.
Yep.
Elementary school. Like I tell people this all the time, and I'm not exaggerating. The first time when after Shantae was born, when she was about 2 years old, we were living in New York. I took Shantae to vote with me. Literally in New York at that time, you had to pull a lever. I let Shantae pull the lever for me. I said, pull that one down, pull it down, push it down like that. And she did it. And she voted. Every time I went to vote, Shantae and Kenny went with me. Yeah, when they came of age, by the time they were in their teenage years, even if they weren't still old enough to vote, they still went with us. We went as a family. Now,
okay, go ahead. I was going to say.
Now, my kids, my adults, encourage others to vote. If you want to change the narrative about black people not voting, we need to start with these little kids and raise them into the thing, show them the importance of voting. Because that's how I got into it. Matter of fact, I really got into politics because of Jimmy Carter. Jimmy Carter became president in 1976. I was 10 years old. I was the proudest moment of my life. Somebody I never knew, I've never met in my entire life, is president. Because he was from Georgia. Didn't know anything about policy, didn't know anything about. I was proud of the fact that the president of the United States was from Georgia. A part of Georgia I still have never been to Plains, Georgia. But you got to go, so that's gonna be the end of it. Let's teach these kids, our grandkids, because most of our listeners are, either have parents of teenagers, or they are, grandparents and all that. Teach your grandkids the importance of it, y'all. Seriously.
I want to say this before I go. Black men and the Gen X generation have, in my opinion, right now, it's either existential or it's not. It can't be existential this day and then it's not existential the next day. Until you remove the threat, it's always going to be existential. And Black men in our generation have got to make a concerted effort to say, how do we take back this narrative of masculinity in the Black neighborhoods? And how do we form groups to counteract these other groups? I have said numerous number of times what I've seen personally, what I've sat and watched, what I watch in my neighborhood, and I'm inner city neighborhood. And at some point, we're going to have to say, it can't just be you fuck around and find out, because they never find out. And there's a narrative in our communities. And I'm gonna leave this because it's only Stephanie can say it the way she said it to me one day on the show. And she said, when she was choosing private schools for her kids, and she can tell the story better than I can. I wish she said it. She said, I had to choose. How'd you say it, Stephanie? You said I had to choose violence or racism. And I'll never forget that statement because it hit me so hard. I, as a mother, had to choose violence for my kids, Chicago public schools, or racism for sending them to private schools, and what that was going to cause. And I think she said her youngest daughter, her two oldest daughters, were okay with the passive racism, but her youngest daughter was having a hard time when she pulled her out. She should never have to choose between those two when it comes to violence as long as we're around. We outnumber every gang in the country if you are raised in the Christian tradition. The question is, do you have the will to say these are the rules of engagement in our community and to be able to carry that out? We no longer cannot have these conversations. No longer. If there is people who know Big Meech, because, and I say that, and I want to be clear, I'm not being demeaning to him because I don't want him at my front door, and that's the way it's supposed to be. I ain't gonna talk about the Bloods, the Crips, because I want nobody at my front door saying, "Hey man, keep my name out your mouth," and because that's the way it's supposed to be when you're dealing with groups. You need to be able to touch people to say hello. That enough is enough. When you have these mediocre people on TV talking about the most accomplished nominee saying the most vile stuff, and nobody was reaching out to them and saying, man, you know what? You don't want to bridge too far. When you can go to the parks and there's not enough people down there telling people, hey, man, Brian knows how I feel about this. Kenneth, you heard me say this. Hey, man, the playgrounds are off limits. There is a consequence to your behavior. Amongst the men in the neighborhood, we will forever be where we are. And that's where I'm talking about when I say healthy fear. We are going to have to make a decision. Is taking back the neighborhoods and the communities and change the narratives more important than going to tailgates, homecomings, all that stuff that's going to be here once we're gone. And how are we going to do it? We're going to have to make that decision so that these women who went out there and did what they did feel protected and safe. And stop lying to each other. Anyway, y'all, I got to go. I got someplace important I got to be. We must save ourselves, like Stephanie said. I got some place I gotta be. I gotta be there by 11:30. I know we want to talk more about it. Maybe me and Kenneth do if he has time in the middle of the week show one day. I'll talk to him about that tomorrow. But if not, I'll see y'all next week. We got a lot of work to do. Let's get to it. And I was hoping we could move away from. Remember we said we are gonna move away from politics after the election. Remember we said that? We're gonna talk about other shit. Now it just seems like it got turbocharged.
So you done impeded on my last 30-second thing.
I'm gonna give you 30 more seconds. Let me shut up. Go for it.
All right. So today is I was talking to somebody last night about homecomings, and I said I don't know who invented homecomings because I just looked it up. It was some school. I don't remember what it was. Anyway. The reason why I brought that up, I want to bring it up, is because, as I said, today is Tuskegee's 100th anniversary of homecoming. Homecoming, the idea of homecoming is you going home and to a place where you felt your safest. And the reason why homecomings mean so much to HBCUs, because those are the places where we were raised, that we came into adulthood. The majority of us came into adulthood at these schools, and we feel safe at these places. So I want to tell y'all this. We're celebrating our 100th homecoming. which is a tremendous feat in and of itself.
Big deal.
Big deal.
Big deal for Tuskegee.
I don't know if this is the oldest HBCU homecoming, but I guarantee you, it probably is because nobody else has ever mentioned 100. So it probably is the first, the oldest one. Let's keep these traditions going. At HBCUs, homecomings are special. Keep them good, keep them safe, and let's keep to enjoy them from generations for another 100 years. I was telling my friends last night, I said, man, you realize this is the 100th anniversary. We were here for the 60th anniversary of Tuskegee's homecoming. We're just that old. Told that to my son, the remix down here. He said, yeah, me and my boys, we're going to come to the 150th. Cool.
Big deal. That's a
real big deal.
Big deal.
Real big deal. So, having said that, happy homecoming, my Tuskegee people. Y'all be petty. For the next 4 years, let's be petty as hell.
And loud. Be clear. We're going to have to be loud.
Oh, yeah. And don't hide your pettiness. Just be petty. Be loud about your pettiness. Let them know.
The only defense to what's about to come down the pipeline January 20th, because if this is going to be a Putin-style thing, is to be loud, 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 and to support people. Because if he does anything like Putin, y'all better go read what Putin did when he got in charge of that military complex. You better read what he did to average citizens. You better understand that this is the type of dude and family you're dealing with and the people up under him. But anyway, got to go. We'll talk to y'all next week or maybe in the middle of the week, depending on what we can and can't do. But we'll announce it because there's a lot of stuff to talk about. Peace.
All right, y'all. Deuces.
Let me go, man. My grandson first basketball